community was changing drastically when we entered.
Prior to Vatican II, we had superiors in every house.
Traditionally, religious communities had a superior, and she was the one who ran the show.
We asked a lot of permissions to do things.
And so we thought, well, let's try group government. What does that mean? Well, you don't have one superior who has the authority. The whole group has the authority.
We dialogued about decisions we had to make. No longer did we have one person who was going to tell us what to do, when and where and how. Basically what they did is I think they freed up community so the members could be intentional. Nobody has a superior anymore. That's good.
I think the way we related to one another in community and the relationship between superiors and peers or sisters, that began to be more relational, a little easier to be able to discuss things and work things out together, rather than just be told, you do this, you do that. And we got away from this authority type of figure, but something that because you were adults, that you work out together.
It was great to have people who were doing what you were doing, that you could rely upon for ideas. It was great to be going someplace with others and having fun, piling into the station wagon and going off. When we could see television, we could hear the news, we could talk about what was going on.
Religious orders were asked to go back to the beginnings of their foundation. But it was more than that. It was in-depth study. It was making Le Puy not just a place on a map, but something real.
We realized that we had a lot of monasticism about our congregation. And we're not a monastic order. Our founders weren't monastic. They were out in the streets.
These women who wanted to go out to the streets and be with the people.
What Vatican II did was to call us to that, to motivate us in terms of our ministry. Before Vatican II, we were really in teaching and nursing, and that was not our call.
It became possible to do other works, and people were beginning to do it, like Louise and Marilyn Rudy. And I lived with Louise when the beginning of St. Joseph's Center happened, seeing a need and being able to respond.
We formed interest groups to further our charism of loving God, loving neighbor. From justice issues to the poor, care of the earth, the sick, the homebound, refugees.
That was a turning point for me, to hear that we were not just to be teachers or nurses. We were to really look at what needed to be done and to do it.
When the sisters began to leave schools and go on to other ministries, many people were shaking their finger at us, and here you are deserting the children and deserting the parents. And there was some tensions there among the sisters, understandably so.
We got a lot of criticism from Catholics who were very strictly, born Catholics, and they could not understand this at all. From the clergy, who thought we were too advanced.
Instead of appreciate what they were trying to do, many of the pastors, especially some of the older ones, really hypercritical.
I detected a lot of fear in our older sisters. They were afraid that things were going to change just too drastically.
There were a lot of tensions in our chapters when we would gather for assemblies, about what direction we ought to be taking. And some people wanted to move now and farther, faster, and others were like, wait, it's too fast and it's not the right path. And so we had a lot of, it was spicy conversations at the table.
Friends were leaving the community.
So many sisters left.
It was sad.
It was a very hard time for many Catholics, and it was a very hard time in the community. We weren't all in the same place, but personally it was a very freeing experience and made a whole lot of sense.
I give credit to Sister Mary Bridget and Sister Grace Hand, who were very wise leaders during those years.
To this day, I'm grateful to our leaders who allowed that to happen, because it was up to them to say, yeah, you go ahead and do that, and we'll support you, and here's some seed money that you can start doing this particular type of work.
I think there are periods in history you come to a point where there's a crossover. You have to leave behind some things and go forward with something new.
In our own ministries, many of us left the institutions, our schools, and the hospital, and we went out trying to live the preferential option for the poor.
It intensified in us a sense of social justice. This is why we were founded.
It freed me up. I have very strong convictions on social justice. So it gave me options to move toward working with the poor.
I think that's very important, and it has affected us very much.
It affected us radically, and we responded radically.